There exists within you a gateway, a biological stargate no larger than a grain of rice, that the ancients called the seat of the soul. For millennia, mystics, shamans, and enlightened masters have protected its secrets, understanding that this tiny crystalline structure holds the key to dimensions beyond ordinary perception. Yet today, in an age of unprecedented information, this sacred knowledge has been systematically obscured, its power diminished, its very existence reduced to a footnote in anatomy textbooks. The pineal gland, your third eye, the bridge between matter and consciousness. What if I told you that the suppression of this organ's true potential isn't accidental? That the calcification, the chemical exposure, the deliberate disconnection from its mystical functions represents one of the most profound conspiracies, not of governance or control, but of spiritual amnesia, a forgetting so complete that humanity has lost access to its own divine architecture. Right now, as you watch this, your pineal gland is producing DMT, the spirit molecule, the same compound found in ayahuasca ceremonies that shamans have used for thousands of years to traverse otherworldly realms. This same gland regulates your circadian rhythms, yes, but the ancients knew it did something far more extraordinary. It translated light into vision, but not the vision of your physical eyes, the vision of worlds layered upon this one. The Egyptians symbolized it with the Eye of Horus. The Buddhists depicted it as the Urna, the jewel of enlightenment. Descartes himself, the father of modern philosophy, declared it the principal seat of the soul, the point where body and spirit converge. Yet modern society treats it as vestigial, unimportant, a relic of evolution with no greater purpose than producing melatonin. In this revelation, we will pierce the veil of this deception. We will journey through the forbidden archives of esoteric tradition, examine the biochemical warfare waged against your consciousness, and unlock the practical techniques that can reawaken this dormant gateway. We will explore what they don't want you to know, that you are designed for transcendence, that the key to expanded awareness already exists within your skull, and that reclaiming its power may be the most revolutionary act of spiritual rebellion available to you. The question is not whether the manipulation is real. The question is, are you ready to see what lies beyond the veil? Long before the age of microscopes and neuroscience, the ancient mystery schools understood something that modern civilization has forgotten. The human body is a temple, and within that temple resides a holy of holies, a sacred chamber where the divine intersects with the mortal. The Egyptians, masters of the hidden sciences, encoded this wisdom into their most sacred iconography. The Eye of Horus was not merely a symbol of protection or royal power, it was an anatomical map. When overlaid upon the human brain, this ancient glyph aligns with perfect precision to the thalamus, the corpus callosum, and at its center, the pineal gland itself. The eye's distinctive markings, the tear, the spiral, the extended line, each corresponds to specific brain structures. This was no coincidence. The Egyptian initiates understood that to open the Eye of Horus meant to activate this crystalline antenna, to perceive the invisible currents of Ma'at, cosmic order, flowing through all things. Travel east to the Himalayan peaks, and you find the same knowledge preserved in different form. Hindu and Buddhist traditions speak of the Ajna chakra, the third eye positioned precisely at the center of the forehead, corresponding to the pineal gland's location deep within the brain. The Sanskrit texts describe it as the eye of Shiva, the destroyer of illusion, the perceiver of truth beyond Maya, the veil of material reality. To awaken this eye was to achieve vijnana, direct knowledge unmediated by the senses, a form of seeing that transcends the limitations of physical sight. In the Taoist traditions of ancient China, this same organ was called the Crystal Palace, or the Upper Dantian, the highest of three energy centers where spiritual transformation occurs. The internal alchemists practiced elaborate meditations to circulate qi through this celestial gateway, believing it was the seat of Shen, the spirit, and the mechanism through which one could achieve immortality, not of the body, but of consciousness itself. Even in the West, this knowledge persisted among those initiated into the deeper mysteries. René Descartes, writing in the 17th century, shocked his contemporaries by declaring the pineal gland the principal seat of the soul and the point of interaction between the immaterial mind and the material body. He chose this obscure organ not arbitrarily, but because he recognized, through philosophy or perhaps intuition, that it occupied a unique position, the only singular, unpaired structure in the bilateral brain, positioned at the geometric center, as if nature itself had designated it for a special purpose. But here is where the story takes a darker turn. As the Age of Enlightenment gave way to industrial materialism, as the spiritual worldview collapsed beneath the weight of mechanistic science, this sacred knowledge was systematically dismantled. The pineal gland was reclassified as an evolutionary remnant, a vestigial third eye from our reptilian ancestors, now reduced to producing a simple hormone called melatonin. The mystical traditions were dismissed as superstition, the experiences of the ancients as hallucination or primitive ignorance. Yet the suppression was not merely intellectual, it was chemical, environmental, systematic. The very substances that calcify and suppress pineal function began to proliferate in modern life. Fluoride in water supplies, processed foods stripped of essential minerals, artificial light disrupting natural rhythms, electromagnetic radiation saturating our environments. Whether by design or catastrophic negligence, the result remained the same: a mass calcification of humanity's spiritual antenna, a collective severing from the source of transcendent awareness. The mystery schools knew what we have forgotten, that consciousness is not produced by the brain but received through it, and the pineal gland serves as the primary receiver. To suppress this organ is to imprison humanity in purely material perception, to trap us in the cave of shadows that Plato described, forever mistaking the projections on the wall for reality itself. This is the hidden history. This is the knowledge that has been buried beneath centuries of conditioning, the secret that the ancients encoded in stone and symbol, desperately trying to preserve it for a future generation that might remember what we truly are. To understand what has been hidden from you, we must first pierce through the clinical sterility of modern science and perceive the pineal gland for what it truly is: a crystalline transducer, a biological technology far more sophisticated than anything humanity has engineered. Nestled deep within the geometric center of your brain, suspended in the cave of cerebrospinal fluid like a jewel in sacred waters, the pineal gland defies conventional classification. It is the only unpaired structure in your bilateral brain, a singular point of convergence in an otherwise symmetrical architecture. The ancients recognized this uniqueness as significant. In a body designed with paired organs for redundancy and balance, here was something singular, irreplaceable, positioned at the exact intersection of the two hemispheres. But the mystery deepens when we examine its cellular composition. Unlike any other part of your brain, the pineal gland contains photoreceptor cells, rods and cones similar to those in your physical eyes. Yet this organ has no direct exposure to light. It sits in absolute darkness, sealed within bone and tissue, removed from any external photons. So why would nature equip it with the machinery to perceive light? The answer the ancients knew: it perceives a different spectrum entirely. Not the light of this sun, but the luminous frequencies of consciousness itself. Within the pineal gland structure, researchers have discovered something that materialist science struggles to explain: piezoelectric calcite crystals. These are the same crystalline structures found in advanced technological devices: radio receivers, ultrasound equipment, optical instruments. Piezoelectric materials convert mechanical pressure into electrical signals and vice versa. They can receive, transmit, and transduce energy across different mediums. Your pineal gland is literally crystalline. It is a biological crystal radio, tuned to frequencies beyond the electromagnetic spectrum that conventional instruments can measure. The ancients called these frequencies the Akashic field, the quantum foam, the mind of God. the informational substrate underlying material reality. Now consider what this crystalline organ produces. N-dimethyltryptamine, known as DMT, the most powerful naturally occurring psychedelic compound in existence. While mainstream science cautiously acknowledges the pineal's production of melatonin and serotonin, the presence of DMT, though strongly indicated by research, remains controversial, perhaps deliberately obscured. DMT is the key that unlocks non-ordinary states of consciousness, the molecular catalyst for what mystics have called cosmic consciousness, enlightenment, or divine union. Indigenous cultures have known this for millennia. The ayahuasca ceremonies of the Amazon, the peyote rituals of the Huichol, the Syrian rue consumed in Persian mysticism, all contain DMT or DMT analogs that essentially amplify what your own pineal gland produces naturally in trace amounts during deep meditation at birth and at death. The Tibetan Book of the Dead describes the Bardo states, the transitional realms between incarnations, which modern researchers now theorize correspond to the massive DMT release that occurs as consciousness departs the body. You are designed to access these states. The technology is built into your neurobiology. But here lies the central paradox. If this gateway exists within everyone, why do so few access its potential? Why has the experience of transcendence become rare rather than ordinary? Why do we require powerful plant medicines to access what should be our natural birthright? The answer is calcification, both literal and metaphorical. The average adult pineal gland contains more fluoride than any other organ in the body, accumulating this halogen throughout life until the crystalline structure becomes encrusted, hardened, calcified into biological stone. Studies using scanning electron microscopy reveal pineal calcification in children as young as 2 years old in fluoridated populations. By middle age, the pineal gland often resembles a calcified pebble rather than the soft, vital tissue it should be. Fluoride has an almost magnetic attraction to the pineal gland's calcium-rich environment. Once there, it doesn't simply pass through. It accumulates, binding to the tissue, creating what researchers call corpora arenacea, or brain sand. This brain sand disrupts the gland's normal function, reducing melatonin production, disrupting circadian rhythms, and, though no mainstream study will confirm this, likely blocking or diminishing the production and release of DMT. But fluoride is only one vector of suppression. The pineal gland is also exquisitely sensitive to electromagnetic frequencies. The Earth's natural magnetic field, the Schumann resonance at 7.83 Hz, has historically provided a stabilizing frequency that actually supports pineal function. But modern life saturates us with artificial electromagnetic radiation, Wi-Fi, cell towers, power lines, creating electromagnetic pollution that interferes with the gland's delicate crystalline structures. Studies have shown that EMF exposure suppresses melatonin production. The effects on DMT production remain unstudied, perhaps deliberately. Then there is the light pollution, the artificial blue light from screens and LED bulbs that floods our evenings, disrupting the natural circadian rhythms that the pineal gland orchestrates. This isn't merely about sleep. It's about the gland's ability to produce its most profound secretions during the deep darkness of night, during that mysterious space between waking and sleeping where visions arise, where prayers are answered, where the boundary between dreamer and dream dissolves. The manipulation isn't necessarily a conscious conspiracy requiring shadowy cabals, though such organizations may certainly exist. Rather, it's an emergent property of a materialist civilization that has lost touch with the sacred, that treats the body as a machine rather than a temple, that values productivity over transcendence, that sees consciousness as an epiphenomenon rather than the ground of being itself. You have been living with a dormant stargate in your skull, and everything about modern life has been designed, intentionally or not, to keep it closed. But why? If the answer were merely ignorance or accidental suppression, we could dismiss this as tragic coincidence. Yet when we examine the patterns more closely, when we trace the historical threads, and observe who benefits from a spiritually disconnected populace, a more unsettling picture emerges. A population with calcified pineal glands is a population severed from direct spiritual experience. They become dependent on external authorities to interpret reality for them, religious institutions to mediate their relationship with the divine, pharmaceutical companies to manage their consciousness through synthetic chemistry, entertainment conglomerates to provide artificial transcendence through screens and spectacle. When your inner vision is clouded, you seek vision from without. When your internal compass is disrupted, you become easy to lead. The ancient mystery schools understood something that modern power structures have rediscovered. Consciousness is not a fixed state, but a variable spectrum. A human being with an active pineal gland, producing optimal levels of endogenous DMT, experiences reality very differently than someone with a calcified gland. They possess intuition that borders on precognition. They perceive patterns invisible to ordinary awareness. They feel an intrinsic connection to all life that makes them difficult to manipulate through fear or division. They are, in the truest sense, dangerous to systems that require conformity and unconsciousness to maintain control. Consider the deliberate suppression of psychedelic research in the 1960s and 70s. Just as scientists were beginning to understand the profound therapeutic and consciousness-expanding potential of compounds like LSD and psilocybin, substances that interact directly with the same serotonergic pathways as endogenous DMT, the research was criminalized, shut down, buried for 50 years. The official narrative spoke of public safety and drug abuse, but the timing is instructive. This suppression occurred precisely when a generation was awakening to alternative states of consciousness, questioning authority, and threatening established power structures. The pineal gland produces its own endogenous psychedelic compound. You are, by design, a visionary organism. But what happens to a society if everyone suddenly remembers this? What happens when direct experience of the sacred becomes democratized, when the priesthood loses its monopoly on spiritual authority, when individuals can access transcendent states without permission or mediation? History provides the answer. During the European witch hunts, the Inquisition, and various religious purges, it was often the mystics, those who claimed direct communion with the divine, who were persecuted most viciously. Not the atheists or agnostics, but those whose personal experience threatened institutional religious authority. The crime was not disbelief, but unauthorized belief, direct knowing that bypassed official channels. Now let us address a question that may be forming in your mind. If the pineal gland is so important, why hasn't modern science proven its mystical functions? Why do we have extensive research on melatonin but almost nothing on DMT production? The answer lies in the paradigm within which science operates. Materialist neuroscience assumes consciousness is produced by brain chemistry, an emergent phenomenon of sufficient neural complexity. Within this framework, there's no reason to investigate the pineal gland's mystical claims. They're dismissed a priori as impossible. Research funding flows toward questions that fit the paradigm. Questions that challenge it are unfunded, unpublishable, career-limiting. Moreover, investigating endogenous DMT production would require administering or measuring schedule. Eye-controlled substances in research subjects, a bureaucratic nightmare that most researchers won't touch. The few brave scientists who've pursued this line of inquiry, like Dr. Rick Strassman, with his groundbreaking DMT research at the University of New Mexico, faced enormous obstacles and could only study exogenous DMT administration, not the body's own production. Yet even within the constraints of acceptable research, intriguing evidence emerges. Studies have demonstrated that pineal gland calcification correlates with numerous disorders: depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, Alzheimer's disease, and even certain cancers. The decalcification of the pineal through various means has shown improvements in sleep quality, mood regulation, and, in the anecdotal reports that science dismisses but wisdom traditions honor, increased intuition, vivid dreams, and spontaneous visionary experiences. There's another dimension to this suppression that speaks to the malleability of human perception itself. Your pineal gland doesn't just produce chemicals. It acts as a frequency modulator, determining which channels of reality your consciousness can access. Imagine your awareness as a radio receiver. Most humans are locked onto a single station, ordinary waking consciousness, unaware that infinite other stations exist on frequencies just beyond their current tuning. The calcified pineal gland has a narrowed bandwidth. It receives only the densest frequencies, the material world in its most solid, fixed appearance. But a decalcified, optimally functioning pineal gland can tune across a broader spectrum. It picks up the subtle frequencies where synchronicity occurs, where intuition whispers, where the boundary between self and universe becomes permeable. The ancients called this the awakened state, Buddha consciousness, Christ consciousness, not as religious concepts but as literal descriptions of an expanded perceptual bandwidth. Here's where we must confront an uncomfortable possibility. What if the suppression of the pineal gland isn't just about control, but about ontology itself? What if consensus reality, the shared hallucination we call the objective world, requires the majority of participants to have dampened visionary capacity? 2. Many awakened pineal glands might destabilize the collective dream, introducing anomalies, paradoxes, miracles, phenomena that threaten the fabric of agreed-upon reality. The shamanic cultures understood this. Their visionaries were simultaneously honored and set apart, their consciousness carefully managed through ritual and training, because they operated on frequencies that could disrupt ordinary reality. The pineal gland, when fully activated, doesn't just change your internal experience. It changes your relationship with the external world in ways that defy materialist explanation. Objects respond to consciousness. Probability curves bend. The future bleeds into the present. Time becomes non-linear. These aren't supernatural powers, but natural functions of consciousness operating at its full bandwidth, undistorted by calcification and suppression. Every saint, sage, and mystic throughout history has demonstrated these capacities, not because they were chosen by supernatural entities, but because they had discovered how to activate the dormant technology already present in human neurobiology. The manipulation, then, is multidimensional: chemical through fluoride and pollutants, electromagnetic through artificial frequencies, cultural through the dismissal of mystical experience, and epistemic through a scientific paradigm that cannot accommodate the data without collapsing its fundamental assumptions about the nature of consciousness and reality itself. You are not meant to be this limited. The smallness of your current perception is an induced state, a controlled demolition of human potential that has been ongoing for generations. And the key to your liberation, microscopic, crystalline, and already present, waits in darkness at the center of your brain, ready to remember its true function the moment you remember yours. Knowledge without application remains dormant potential, another form of sleep. The ancient alchemists understood this. Wisdom must be embodied, practiced, lived into being. So now we turn from theory to praxis, from understanding the manipulation to actively reversing it. What follows are the techniques, both ancient and modern, that can begin the process of decalcification and reactivation. The reclamation of your birthright. The foundation. Eliminating the calcifiers. Before you can awaken what sleeps, you must first stop poisoning it. This is the purification stage, and it requires vigilance in a world saturated with pineal suppressants. First, fluoride must be eliminated or dramatically reduced. This means filtering your water with reverse osmosis or activated alumina filters specifically designed to remove fluoride. Standard carbon filters won't suffice. It means choosing fluoride-free toothpaste, avoiding non-organic foods grown with fluoride-based pesticides, and being mindful of black and green teas, which naturally accumulate fluoride from soil. This isn't paranoia. This is informed awareness. Every mystic tradition has emphasized purification of the body temple as the prerequisite for spiritual awakening. Calcium supplementation without the proper cofactors, particularly vitamin K2 and magnesium, can contribute to calcification as calcium deposits in soft tissues rather than bones. Ensure your mineral intake is balanced. Conversely, certain compounds actively help remove existing calcification. Organic raw apple cider vinegar, taken daily, helps dissolve calcifications throughout the body. Tamarind, a fruit used in Ayurvedic medicine, has shown remarkable ability to facilitate fluoride detoxification through the urine. Then, there is the matter of electromagnetic hygiene. Turn off Wi-Fi routers at night. Keep electronic devices away from your sleeping area. The pineal gland performs its deepest work in the electromagnetic silence of night, and this work requires an undisturbed field. The ancients didn't have this problem. We must consciously create the conditions they took for granted. The activation, light, darkness, and circadian restoration. Your pineal gland is a light-sensitive organ, and modern light pollution has blinded it. Restoring proper circadian rhythm is not optional. It is essential. Expose yourself to natural sunlight within the first hour of waking. Not through windows, not through glasses. Direct sunlight on your retinas and skin. This signals your pineal gland that day has begun, initiating the complex cascade of hormones and neurotransmitters that regulate your entire physiology. The ancient sun-gazing practices weren't primitive worship. They were sophisticated endocrine regulation techniques. Equally important, after sunset, minimize blue light exposure. Use blue light blocking glasses. Switch devices to night mode. Dim artificial lights. Better yet, use candles or firelight as our ancestors did. In complete darkness, the pineal gland begins producing melatonin. But with extended darkness meditation, some researchers theorize it may produce DMT as well. The profound visions reported by meditators in dark retreat, practiced in Tibetan Buddhism and various mystical traditions, may be the result of endogenous DMT release when the pineal gland is bathed in complete darkness for extended periods. Sleep in absolute darkness. No LED lights, no standby indicators, no light pollution from windows. The pineal gland detects even small amounts of light through your closed eyelids, disrupting its nocturnal alchemy. Create a cave, a womb of darkness where consciousness can travel without the anchor of light-based reality. The alchemy. Supplements and superfoods. Certain substances have been used for centuries to support pineal function, though their mechanisms weren't understood in modern biochemical terms. Chlorella and spirulina, blue-green algae rich in chlorophyll, help chelate heavy metals including fluoride from tissue. Raw cacao, rich in antioxidants and containing trace amounts of DMT-related compounds, has been sacred to indigenous cultures for its consciousness-expanding properties. The Mayans called it the food of the gods, and your pineal gland responds to its chemistry. Iodine, often deficient in modern diets, is crucial for pineal health and helps displace fluoride from receptors throughout the body. Nascent iodine or organic kelp can provide this essential element. Boron, found in beets and borax, assists in fluoride elimination and calcification reversal. MSM, methyl sulfonyl-methane, an organic sulfur compound, supports detoxification pathways and has shown promise in reversing calcification. And perhaps most powerfully, distilled water fasting, practiced intermittently, can help dissolve inorganic mineral deposits throughout the body, including the pineal gland, as the body searches for minerals and begins breaking down stored deposits. The practice, meditation and breath. But supplements and diet alone cannot awaken the dormant eye. Consciousness itself must learn to direct energy toward this crystalline gateway. This is where ancient practice meets modern application. The Trataka meditation of yogic tradition involves gazing at a candle flame for extended periods, then closing the eyes and visualizing the flame at the center of the forehead, the precise location corresponding to the pineal gland. This focuses bioelectrical energy and attention on the third eye center, stimulating blood flow and neural activity in that region. Breathwork, specifically the pranayama techniques that involve retention, increases carbon dioxide levels and alters blood pH, creating conditions that may support DMT production and release. The Wim Hof method, tummo breathing, holotropic breathwork, these aren't just relaxation techniques. They're technologies for altering consciousness through controlled hypoxia and hyperventilation, creating non-ordinary states without external substances. Chanting and toning at specific frequencies can create resonance in the skull cavity. The ancient OM or AUM mantra, when properly intoned, creates a vibration that resonates through the cranium, directly stimulating the pineal gland through sonic massage. This is acoustic activation, using sound waves to stimulate crystalline structures, much like ultrasound technology. The gateway, lucid dreaming, and astral projection. The pineal gland is most active during REM sleep and the hypnagogic states between waking and sleeping. Learning to maintain consciousness during these transitions, the practice of lucid dreaming, may be one of the most direct methods of exploring the pineal's visionary capacity. Keep a dream journal. Set intentions before sleep. Practice reality checks throughout the day. When you achieve lucidity within the dream state, focus your awareness on the center of your forehead. Many practitioners report that this focal point, when activated within the dream, triggers profound experiences of expanded consciousness, out-of-body states, or encounters with non-physical dimensions of reality. The gateway tapes developed by the Monroe Institute, binaural beats that entrain brainwaves to specific frequencies, can facilitate these states. Theta waves, 4 to 8 Hz, and delta waves, 0.5 to 4 Hz, are associated with deep meditative states and dreaming, frequencies where the pineal gland's mystical functions may be most accessible. The integration. Living as if awakened finally, and perhaps most importantly, the pineal gland responds to consciousness itself. Your beliefs about reality, your openness to mystery, your willingness to perceive beyond material appearances, these shape the organ's function as much as any physical intervention. Live with intention, practice presence, cultivate awe and wonder. Spend time in nature, away from artificial electromagnetic fields and human constructs. The Earth's natural electromagnetic field supports pineal function. Modern urban environments suppress it. Question consensus reality. Not with cynicism, but with curiosity. The pineal gland is an organ of gnosis, direct knowing, and it atrophies in minds that accept received wisdom without inner verification. This is not a quick fix or a weekend workshop. This is a return to your natural state, a reversal of decades of suppression. Some report changes within weeks, vivid dreams, enhanced intuition, synchronicities multiplying. For others, the awakening is gradual, unfolding over months or years as calcification slowly dissolves and dormant capacities reactivate. But make no mistake, every step you take toward decalcification is an act of rebellion against a system that requires your spiritual blindness to maintain control. Every meditation, every dietary choice, every moment of darkness embraced. These are revolutionary acts, reclamations of your divine inheritance. The gateway exists within you. The key is practice, patience, and the unwavering commitment to remember what you truly are beneath the layers of forgetting. Conclusion. We have journeyed together through layers of hidden history, suppressed science, and forgotten wisdom. We have traced the outline of a conspiracy so vast it encompasses chemistry and culture, biology and belief, stretching back through millennia of human civilization. But the most profound revelation is not what has been done to you. It is what remains possible despite it all. Your pineal gland, even calcified and suppressed, even dormant and dimmed, still functions, still produces trace amounts of the molecules that bridge matter and spirit, still responds however faintly to light and darkness, to intention and practice. The gateway has not been destroyed, merely obscured, veiled, waiting with infinite patience for the moment you remember it exists. This is the secret they cannot fully suppress. Consciousness is primary, not derivative. You are not a body that happens to be conscious. You are consciousness that has temporarily taken bodily form, and the pineal gland is the interface, the translator, the biological technology that allows infinite awareness to operate through finite flesh. When you decalcify this crystalline antenna, when you restore its function and reawaken its dormant capacities, you are not gaining something new. You are remembering something ancient, recovering what was always yours. The manipulation we've explored today is real, documented, measurable, but it is not omnipotent. Every system of control contains within it the seeds of its own transcendence. The very fact that you've watched this video, that you've followed this thread of inquiry into forbidden territory, proves that the suppression is incomplete. Some part of you already knows the truth, already senses the presence of this sleeping giant within your skull, already yearns for the expanded perception that is your birthright. The ancient mystery schools taught that there are 3 stages of awakening. First, you learn that you are asleep. Second, you learn that you can awaken. Third, you learn that you were never truly asleep at all, only dreaming that you were. The pineal gland is not separate from your consciousness. It is one of consciousness's instruments for experiencing itself in material form. To activate it is to wake up within the dream while still remaining in the dream, to perceive multiple dimensions simultaneously, to remember that you are both the actor and the witness, the wave and the ocean. The techniques we've discussed, the dietary changes, the light hygiene, the meditation practices, these are not merely physical interventions. They are rituals of remembrance, acts of devotion to your own divine nature, ceremonies of reclamation performed in the temple of your body. Each time you choose filtered water over fluoridated poison, each time you sit in darkness and focus awareness on your third eye, each time you question the consensus reality that insists you are small and powerless, you are performing an act of spiritual alchemy, transmuting the lead of unconsciousness into the gold of awakened perception. But I want to leave you with something more than just techniques and practices. I want to leave you with a question, one that will haunt you in the best possible way, one that the awakened pineal gland will eventually answer through direct experience rather than intellectual understanding. What would you perceive if the veil were lifted completely? What realities exist, layered upon this one, invisible only because your inner eye remains closed? What messages are being broadcast on frequencies you can no longer receive? What aspects of your own consciousness have been locked away in the darkness of a calcified gland, waiting for the light of awareness to illuminate them once more? The ancients knew, the mystics remembered, the shamans never forgot. And now you know too, not with the certainty of proof, but with the recognition of truth that resonates deeper than evidence, that vibrates in the crystalline structures of the very organ we've been discussing. The manipulation is real. The suppression is ongoing. But the potential for liberation exists in every moment, in every breath, in every conscious choice to reclaim what has been taken from you. Your third eye is opening. Whether through the practices we've discussed or simply through the intention set by watching this video, something has shifted. Pay attention to your dreams tonight. Notice the synchronicities that begin to multiply. Feel the subtle pressure at the center of your forehead as dormant neural pathways begin to reactivate. The revolution will not be televised because it happens in the silent darkness behind your own eyes, in the secret chamber where matter and spirit converge, in the mysterious space that is somehow both physical and metaphysical, both biological and divine. If this video has awakened something within you, if you feel the stirring of remembrance, then share this knowledge, not to convince or convert, but to offer a lifeline to others who are ready to remember. The suppression relies on isolation, on each person believing they're alone in their sensing that something is terribly wrong with consensus reality. Every awakening makes the next awakening easier, creates ripples in the collective consciousness that touch shores you'll never see. Leave a comment below describing any experiences you've had that might relate to pineal activation, vivid dreams, spontaneous visions, moments of profound intuition, or synchronicity. Your story might be the catalyst someone else needs to begin their own journey of decalcification. And subscribe to this channel, because we've only begun to explore the hidden architecture of human consciousness, the suppressed technologies of spiritual awakening, the ancient wisdom that modernity has tried desperately to bury but can never fully extinguish. The pineal gland is not the end of the mystery. It is the beginning. Behind this gateway lie dimensions of experience that language cannot capture, that no video can fully convey, that can only be known through direct encounter. Everything I've shared today is merely a map. At some point, you must take the journey yourself. The manipulation continues, but so does the awakening. The question is not whether you have a pineal gland, or whether it can be reactivated, or whether the suppression is real. The only question that matters now is this: will you choose to see? The third eye is opening. Reality will never look the same again.